Or I'd love to know which city drinks the most.
I would say Hyderabad, actually.
Okay.
Hyderabad drinks a lot. Calcutta loves to drink. Delhi, Bombay, of course, they're given. But if you proportionate out, the amount of then I think per capita basis, I think Hyderabad, Calcutta, down south, drinking is just a normal thing to do, which, whereas in Delhi, it's much more taboo.
Hi, and welcome to Big Food Energy, the podcast that spotlights some of the most exciting food businesses in India and around the world. Today, we're chatting with Rakshay Dhariwal, the MD of Passport Hospitality, which is a parent company of some of the coolest bars and restaurants in India. I'm talking about PCO, Jamun, Pings, and Saz. So when PCO opened, it was one of the first speakeasy-style cocktail bars in Delhi in 2012. There was literally nothing like it. It was a bar that paid emphasis on cocktails over straight pours, where you could have long conversations with the bartender or simply go out for a drink by yourself and then end the night with a whole bunch of new friends. This was obviously a very bold decision to take at the time. He launched India Cocktail Week, a festival dedicated to only cocktails, and most recently, India's first premium agave spirit. Rakshay has always been ahead of the curve when it comes to identifying what India wants to drink, and he's been a big proponent of drinking less but better. And today I'm talking to him about just that. Hi Rakshay, and welcome to Big Food Energy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I hope what I say has some relevance and I don't bore people.
Not at all. I think it's going to be a fun chat.
Awesome.
So Rakshay, you started PCO way back in 2012. Craft cocktails were not a big thing. When someone said cocktail back then, you thought of like a pink drink with an umbrella in it with lots of froth and foam.
Like a whiskey, half soda, half water. That was another common cocktail I remember.
Exactly. So what made you think that India was ready for a concept like PCO, and where did this idea come from?
So, the idea of a speakeasy obviously came from New York and London. I was in the States and used to go to a lot of these speakeasies and would absolutely love the whole barriers to entry, would love the secrecy of the entire place. It was really dim. The concept just really resonated with me. And I thought India was ready to, drink a little bit better. Why should you have, these watermelon martinis and have, but I remember even if you ask for an old fashioned, which is, the simplest of cocktails to make, they won't even understand how to go about making it. It was just Cosmo, Bloody Mary, Margarita, and none of these were even well balanced, to be honest. So I think we have come a long way. I think the reason why I think I took the punt to do this, because of course it was a risky concept, but I thought there were items of it that were super cool. And Delhi specifically, I used to go out a lot in Delhi, and we'd always go to these clubs where you'd have these big bouncers outside, and they'll, are you head to toe and acha, no stag entry, are you, so I wanted to set up a bar that people would just feel comfortable to go to, that would attract like-minded people, and had a very high product quality. I thought cocktails were the way to go because I wanted it to be a bar. I didn't want it to be a restaurant. So that's kind of why I took the punt and decided to, do this. And in a place like Delhi, to have a passcode to enter, I thought that was just genius. I thought that was a really smart gimmick on my part. And it fit perfectly well in the concept. We chose a good location that, everyone was comfortable with. That's it's everything since then has just been it's been pretty smooth sailing.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that you must have some pretty interesting stories of people trying to get in, trying to name drop. Asking us, if you do that. That was
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been told on my face, I've been like, no, I'm Rakshay ko jante hai. I said, मैं हूँ Rakshay, आप कौन हो? So yeah, that does happen, and it's again a little ugly at times as well. But that goes part and parcel in this industry, to be honest. If you're gonna run a bar, then be prepared for things like this. It's normal.
Sure. And, back then, I'm guessing that there was a lot of education that you had to do in terms of getting the customer to, one, get used to drinking cocktails that they weren't familiar with, but also just getting them to understand flavor profiles, right? Which is such a big deal in cocktails. So tell us about that and how you went about doing that.
You had to set, you can't just go in and give them a cocktail when you've got, hip hop blaring or so we had to set the tone of the entire restaurant, right? So what we did with our decor, we made the upstairs very colonial French-esque, and downstairs very, German beer garden, but very cool vibes and secretive. So we played with our space in terms of our decor. You'd have all these little private nooks and crannies all over the place. You've got the cigar room upstairs. You've got the, private room. And all these different, segregated spaces. Once people enter, they already know that, okay, this isn't going to be your disc or, whatever.
Right.
A club or whatever places were back then.
Yeah.
And the music that we played was all jazz, right? And that really set the tone. And you'd have customers coming in saying, Bollywood nahi bajate ho? Nahi bajate hum. And then they just leave, right? So I think in our decor and our music choices, we really set the tone, and we kept that for probably a year and a half, before we started introducing different genres and making it a little bit more widely accepted. But it took us a year and a half, if not 2 years, to make that change.
Comes to educating the customer in terms of, this is what an actual old fashioned is. Was there a lot of that where people were like, this is not the drink that I ordered, or this is too bitter?
No, it was all about us being able to explain each of the cocktails, and I think our pre-opening team was one of the strongest that I experienced. We had all these superstars basically under one roof, and they've all now grown on and become absolutely rock stars, right? In F&B. And I think having that core team under one roof really helps set the tone. So when people would say, could I get an old fashioned? I read bitters. What's a bitter? Then having to explain, Acha, these are bitters. This is how we make the old fashioned. It is, on the sweeter side. It uses bourbon. We use Jim Beam, and so a lot of that education was required.
Okay. And for people who are listening, what capital did you start out with? How much of it was your own? Did you raise any money at the time?
Yeah. So, I'm not the biggest believer in going out and raising money, unless you, it depends on the type of business that you're in. If you're starting a restaurant, and if you have the savings, put that in. If you can take a bank loan, take the bank loan, But getting investors on board initially is not the best idea. You want to run the ship without interference. You want to be able to take, calls. You want to be able to audible your initial calls. It's a lot. It's a very tricky business, and you need to take a lot of decisions on the spur of the moment. You can't always go back and report into and take someone else's consensus. And if you do take investors, then I would recommend, you be very clear up front that I'm the captain of the ship. I'm going to take every decision the way I want to. And, for these big things, if a big capex or something is required, then you can consult the investors for that. But I used my own savings and borrowed some money from my parents, and that's how we got started off.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And since PCO, you went on to launch Jamun, Ping, Saz. At all of these restaurants, drinks have been pretty central to these concepts. So have these concepts evolved as drinking patterns have changed, as people have got more familiar with drinking better beer, with drinking more cocktail forward drinks, more spirit forward drinks? Tell me about that. Did you come up with these concepts because you saw patterns changing?
So it's ever evolving, I would say. It's we've always every month I get a list of these are the cocktails that are moving the fastest. This is what's moving the least, and then we see how to make modifications. But in every city, the style of cocktails that work are very different. So in Calcutta, for instance, people like a little bit bolder flavors. So if you're going sweet, go quite a lot sweeter than you would in a Delhi, where spirit forward bitter is the flavor of the hour or of the season or whatever. In Bombay is a little mixed. Bombay likes spicy. Bombay likes sweet spicy. Bombay also likes the bold flavors, but not as much as a Calcutta, for instance. And Goa likes refreshing. Goa, with the humidity, you're always outdoors. Some nice highballs, some tiki style cocktails, they work very well in Goa. And Delhi, when because we get extreme weather patterns in Delhi. It's very hot and then very cold. But when it's very hot, then most people are drinking in these really air-conditioned restaurants and bars or stuff like that. So generally, you can play with a lot of spirit-forward style cocktails, woozier cocktails, cocktails that are more technically advanced as well, because the general crowd in Delhi, our clients, they're more interested in knowing, this is the technique that you're using. Acha, this is fat washed, you sous vide this. Okay, you've used the rotovap, you've made this distillate. In Bombay, I think the pace is much faster. So I don't think people have the time to get really down and dirty with the F&B complications of techniques and stuff like that. They'll taste it and be like, very nice. Yeah. Come, I'll have another one, But are they really that interested in, the techniques and the behind the scenes? I say it's changing. They are getting more and more interested. And also these days now, I think it's also due to the fact that there's so many new great cocktail bars that have come up in Bombay. So I think that's what, now finally that revolution that happened maybe around 6-7 years ago in Delhi, where most places started focusing on cocktails. I think that revolution has caught up with Bombay right now. And today in Bombay, you can't just launch a restaurant. You need to have an equally important cocktail scene. And I love that. It's just, it adds so much to the industry. So much new, fresh talent is being developed. So it's fantastic.
That's amazing. It's so interesting how you're mapping the character of city with the flavor profiles that they want to drink. But I'd love to know which city drinks the most.
I would say Hyderabad, actually.
Okay.
Hyderabad drinks a lot. Calcutta loves to drink. Delhi, Bombay, of course, they're given. But when you look at the overall, if you proportionate out, the amount of people, then I think per capita basis, I think Hyderabad, Calcutta, down south, drinking is just a normal thing to do, which, whereas in Delhi, it's much more taboo. So I think, and Rajasthan is the most taboo, So, but it varies heavily. Northeast, down south, it's completely normal. and cities there on a per capita basis are always the highest.
Right. So how much would, say, how many drinks would someone in Hyderabad have versus someone, say, in like a
You don't talk about drinks. You talk about how many quarters or how many bottles they can drink. Yeah, it's they're way beyond the phase of just drinks. Yeah. Drinks, they're not really counted. When you reach a place, the normal thing to do is just choose the bottle that you'll be drinking and call for it on your table. That's the norm in Hyderabad.
Nice. I need to spend some more time in Hyderabad.
It's a fun city. It's a fun city.
It is. It's super interesting. Okay, so Rakshay, you run all these bars and restaurants. Obviously, you have data on which city drinks more than the other. Gin is a sector that continues to grow in India. So you have all of this information, and then you went ahead and launched a premium spirit that barely has a market in India. Tell us about Pistola. It's a spirit made of agave, which is kind of like tequila. But tell us about it and how you came to that decision.
So, lockdown had just hit, and in the first week of lockdown, I came up with a grand list of all different ways I could diversify, because I was really scared out. I didn't know if my restaurants were ever going to open up again. I didn't know what was going on. I said, listen, where is this industry heading? What do I want to do? I realized, listen, I need a product that I could make that could go into people's houses. That's where I thought, about getting into liquor and getting into an agave-based spirit. I'd seen all my clients all my high-end clients that used to drink single malts back, 10 years ago. They moved on to bourbons, flirted a little with gin, and all got stuck on tequila. Tequilas, mezcals, 100% agave spirits. Let's put it that way. Not, the cheap mixtos or anything like that, but really quality, agave spirits. And that's when I was like, listen, agave grows all over, the country. And we've got a lot of agave that can be used to make a really high quality spirit. So that's when I decided to begin working on it. And the easy thing would have been to do a gin. Back then, there were just 2 gins in the market, or 3 rather. There was Greater Than, Apusha, and Stranger. It was even before Terai had come out. And then I heard during lockdown, I heard, oh, Terai is coming, this is coming, that's coming, that. I mean, today there's about 35 local gins just to Goa, if not more. Yeah. And so, yeah, there are probably about 50, 60 different gin brands that are locally produced, all across the country. And basically, the gin is so easy to make. It doesn't take much time at all. It's the simplest thing. I didn't want all the businesses I do. I try to do things that are not that easy, just so that the barriers of entry are much higher, so that I could, rule the roost without inherent competition coming from, every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Basically, so I thought agave was probably the toughest thing to do. And I saw all my clients migrate to drinking quality agave spirits. Everyone would look at, this is additive free. This is, and those are the points that resounded with me. And I thought, listen, it is so possible to do a spirit like this in India. Why should I not? That's where I started working on it and launched, I think, maybe to the public maybe 2 years after that, or a year and a half after that, a little bit more than a year and a half after that. And I've had ups and downs. It's a very different business. It's a very difficult business. This is the kind of business that you should take funding in, because it's basically like it's like a proper startup where, you need to spend a lot of money before you can start seeing returns. It's not a cheap business to get into. So although it's very easy, anyone can launch a gin with very little amount of money. But at the end of the day, the cost of selling the gin, that's what really costs. It's the cost of marketing that's the highest. It's the cost of salaries. It's the cost of promotions. It's the cost of all this plays a huge role in the overall success or failure of that product.
Right. Okay. And so tell us about where you're getting the agave from. You said it grows freely across India, but I know that you get it from Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah.
Do you have to go? How does it work?
We get it from the highlands of the Deccan Plateau. If you actually map the coordinates, it's the same latitude as as Jalisco, where tequila is made. It's the same topography. It's the same climate. It's extremely hot. It goes 40 degrees. Is not an issue. Nothing else grows there. That's great because agave grows there. Agave is a very self-sustaining plant. You don't need to care for it much. You just need to let it grow. What we do is we get wild agave Americana and then we double distill it. It's manufactured by another facility in Andhra, and it's finished off in Goa at another facility. So broken up between two different facilities. And the way this business generally works is everything is you have contracts with different distilleries that do different parts of the process for you. So that's how it's manufactured. But the product comes out of Goa. I do my aging, blending, bottling all in Goa. So you have to age it for different amounts of time. So our Reposado, for instance, is aged for about 5 to 6 months. Our añejos for about 14 to 16 months. Our extra añejos for over 3 years. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on with the aging.
Right. Are there different laws in India that govern agave? You did say that
There are no
it's very
laws.
easy. Oh,
There are no laws that govern agave, and it's been extremely challenging because every single state in India treats alcohol in a different way, right? So Delhi's excise policy is very different from Goa's excise policy, which is very different from every state has its own excise policy. And in the excise in Delhi doesn't even have a agave category, for instance, right? So we've been asking them to create one, and that's why we're not selling in Delhi right now. We were under the last policy, but under this new policy, we're still working on getting our clearances. Trying to explain to them. We submitted a huge docket of this is what agave is, and there's a lot of education that had to go in that retrospect. Because we are to say that, listen, it is not a tequila. It is an agave distillate. It is made in India. Tequilas are made in Mexico, blah, 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 blah. But they don't even have a tequila category. Tequila falls under whiskey category, for instance. So it's all a little bizarre. But yeah, so working with the local excise in all departments, that way we're very lucky to be bottled in Goa, because Goa's excise is super easy. If there's any hurdles, you just go there, you speak, it gets solved. They're very educated. They know what they're talking about. They understand liquor. They understand the process of making it, and these are fundamentals that every excise policy out there should have. Basically,
right.
You need
Right.
people who understand liquor.
Right. So, obviously there's a lot of innovation coming out of restaurants and bars. I've been told that by a lot of bar owners and bartenders that we're actually seeing some of India's most innovative cocktails and drinks being designed for Indian weddings. What is your experience with that? Has PCO, say, done a takeover at a wedding, or and what does that look like? Like, what is your?
It's a very big vertical for us. We do passcode catering, and which we launched in 2013. and it's a huge vertical for us, to be honest. We handle full weddings. We handle from as low as 20 people house parties to 3,000 people grand big weddings. Um, yeah, so during the day, people want to drink something a little bit more easy drinking. Also, so something refreshing and light and easy. So we generally have made cocktails with coconut water. We've generally done cocktails that are sparkling, and that's all much more conducive for day drinking. On the second day and the third day, we also throw in like a Bloody Mary. We throw in some hangover cures because that's people have had a heavy one the night before, and as the day progresses, the style of cocktail also completely changes. So yeah, the type of cocktails that we do throughout change a lot throughout the entire wedding. So when someone even when someone is given the invite, we do specialized bottled cocktails, and we call this bottled fashioned, and we make bottles and cocktails, and people send that with the invite cards to as soon as they reach the wedding, they or reach the first function. Generally we play with cocktails with coconut water, things that are a little bit more sparkling, just something a little bit more celebratory just when they enter. And then as the night goes on and as the evening goes on, depending on the function, we curate cocktails for that mood. And what we do with every of our clients is we sit down, we do a tasting, we understand, okay, this is what you want, this is, the style of cocktail you like, this is what your guests like. So it's a very in-depth analysis of the progression of the wedding as well. Then we handle different counters at each wedding. So we've got one infusion station, we've got, a section where you have malted malts and cigar pairings. These days we've been doing mezcal bars. So a lot of fun stuff that we do, from barrel aged cocktails to the couples images printed on a rice paper garnish, and that's presented on top of a cocktail, to having branded the wedding hashtag branded and stamped on the ice and stamped on the garnish. So on the orange field, you'll have a nice branding for the wedding. So we do a lot when it comes to weddings, and having glitter and drinks, just so that it's a little bit more sparkly, and yeah, we do a whole variety of different stuff, and this is a very big vertical for us, to be honest.
That's super interesting. And have any of the learnings from from what you've had at weddings seeped into what you're doing at the bar or with Pistola?
Oh, it's all vice versa. Everything we do at the bar, that gets reflected in the weddings. So for certain weddings, we've also made certain distillates, and pre-batched the entire cocktail from PCO itself, and done that at the wedding. So when they come in for the trial, then we really showcase the extent of how crazy they want to take it. And it all depends on the clients, to be honest, how far they want to go.
Right. What is the craziest thing that you've done for a wedding?
Oh, we've I was told for one wedding to get glacial ice and have glacial ice sculptures and glacial ice on a big block where you just pour the liquid at the top, and then it goes through this ice, and then you drink it at the bottom. So
wow,
that was a tough one. That was a tough one to figure out, but we couldn't get glacial ice, but we managed to do the rest. Yeah, the glacial ice, that was a tough one.
Yeah, clearly climate change is not a thing for for some of things.
Yeah, no, when your family member is getting married, you really want to go all out.
You put out all the stuff.
Yeah, so we weren't able to hook up the glacial ice, but the rest of it we did. So it was, yeah, we get a lot of different crazy inquiries, and this one, it was on a lake deep into Rajasthan, in a very a place where there's nothing else around, and the party went on. It was like a Burning Man's themed party, and it went on for 18 hours. No, not 18 hours. Sorry. For 28 hours. For 28 hours, it was a day and a little bit. Yeah, people didn't sleep. They kind of just partied nonstop, and there were like little crash pads nearby and stuff like that. So our guys had to take everything in shifts, and but we were briefed about that. We knew what to expect, and executed it very well. So
Wow.
I mean, people were destroyed after that. After handling that wedding, my team, like, they send a picture of everyone's shoes. They were just full of mud, and it was crazy, but fun experience, but crazy.
That's insane. How do you prep for a 28-hour long party?
You just have to make sure that you've got your backup supplies sorted.
Yeah.
Because we had to keep getting new ice. We had to keep getting different, we'd be running low on one type of liquor, because you can never predict what the entire party is going to do. If something becomes a huge hit, that's just going to fly the most. And then you have to start planning your backup already. As soon as you know that, okay, this is the hit, then you start, planning the backup. It's all a logistics game, basically.
Right. That can't be easy, obviously.
Catering as a whole is very dependent on your logistics and your supplies.
Right. Okay, cool. So, you have all of this data from weddings, from your bars, from Pistola. What direction is the urban Indian tipler moving towards? What will we see being reflected in the market?
I think cocktails are becoming more and more mainstream. I think in today's day and age, everywhere in the country, even the smaller cities, you'd expect to find a good, healthy cocktail program. And, I've seen people, and especially in the upper tiers of society, they're moving towards agave spirits. There, in terms of cocktails, I also think that a big trend these days are low sugar cocktails. I think anything that is a little bit better for you. People are taking interest in the calorie count of the cocktails. They're taking interest in the ABV of the cocktails. They're taking interest in the story behind the cocktails there. So I think the techniques in which the cocktails are made, that is being highlighted. So I think it's really progressing to where the customer wants to be informed.
Yeah, of course. I mean, speaking of another product that you created, let's get into India Cocktail Week. That's a whole other model. Again, very different from running a bar, very different from setting up a liquor company. Tell us about how did India Cocktail Week start, and how it's sort of grown over the years.
So India Cocktail Week, we wanted it to be a celebration of all things cocktails in a large format, venue, and it needed to be like a cocktail carnival, basically. We want, and the whole idea was to get India exposed on the world map with regards to cocktails. Back when India Cocktail Week was started, we didn't. We had a few bars on the discovery list, but nothing like the representation that we have in today's top 50 and on international lists. And the whole point was to get India talking about cocktails and get the world talking about Indian cocktails. And I think we've accomplished that very well. Each one of our editions, we bring down absolutely the best of the industry to come do pop-ups at different establishments, to check out the scene that we've created in India, and to talk about it back home, and to also give us a flavor for what they're doing in their home countries that is so revered. So I think India Cocktail Week, we managed to accomplish that very well.
What about in the beverage space? If someone wants to start a bar, or if someone wants to start an alcohol company, what direction would you sort of steer them towards?
Alcohol company, and make sure that they've got very deep pockets and lots of, if they've got investment and stuff like that. In terms of bar, anyone can start one. There's no real barriers to entry. It's quite easy, and I'd recommend people who are passionate to start one. It's the thing is that you lose interest in the fun of and the whimsical element of running a bar. You lose interest in that very soon. And then it becomes more along the lines of, what's my food cost? What's my beverage cost? What's my new menu looking like? Am I doing enough marketing? Is my social media on point? It becomes into the business of running the establishment. But have fun with it, at least for the first, until as much as fun as you can derive from it, derive that.
Until it sucks your soul.
Until it sucks your soul. Because eventually it all sucks your soul.
We've come to the end of our chat, and we're going to go into a rapid fire round. So I'm just going to give you a term or give you a word. It's kind of like a word association. And then you just have to tell me the first thing that pops into your head.
That pops, oh God. Okay. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Super. So what do you think of when I say craft cocktails?
I think cocktail bars. I think in my mind, a very dimly lit space comes to mind. When I hear craft cocktails, I automatically go towards the bars that create these craft cocktails.
Okay. The silliest cocktail you've ever had?
You've had some, with that tastes more like milkshake, like a chocolate milkshake, spiked with a little bit of alcohol. Then we've had some really over the top presented cocktails that you're like, should I eat this? Should I drink this? And how do I even begin drinking this? Then you're just like, get me a straw. This, what you've done on top with this garnishing is just a little bit too much.
Okay. One pet peeve you have during service, if you're at a bar and you see something and it really pisses you off, what is that one thing?
Rudeness. I think there's no space for that in our industry. I really dislike people who talk, down upon the people serving them. I think that's my biggest pet peeve. It's absolutely disgusting. You shouldn't ever snap your fingers at, that's just inherently, that's ill-mannered, and no one should behave like that.
Yeah, okay. And what is the ultimate hangover cure for you?
The main thing is to drink water when you get home. Try to replenish all the electrolytes. So a Gatorade in the morning works wonders. Coconut water works wonders. A little bit of greasy food. But all that apart, nothing works as well as hair of the dog. Whatever you were drinking the night before, just have one just to, settle yourself, and then eat your greasy food and do the rest.
Okay. Awesome. I'm sure you spent many a mornings with the hair of the dog.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Rakshay. This has been a lot of fun and very, very enlightening. It's always super fun talking to you.
No, thank you so much, Smita, for taking the time out, and thank you so much, Shivam, for being patient with me through all these technical glitches.
Like, share, and subscribe to the Big Food Energy podcast for more inspirational and important stories from the world of food.